Well, it's been a glittering Akshaya Tritiya for not only gold and silver this year, but also gold and silver ETFs, with investor interest surging nearly 3 times from last year. Leading the charge is Nippon India Mutual Fund, commanding over 60% of the market share. Joining us today is the key voice behind this performance to unpack what's driving this momentum and what it means for investors. So now let's welcome on board Mr. Arun Sundaresan, the head ETF, Nippon India Asset Management Limited. So welcome to ET Now, and help us understand how this Akshaya Tritiya has been for you, because Nippon India ETF has seen impressive growth in both gold and silver ETF volumes this Akshaya Tritiya. What do you attribute this surge to, and give us a sense of how this year has shaped up for you on Akshaya Tritiya?
Thank you for having me on the show. Like you pointed out, this Akshaya Tritiya had been fantastic. One, the overall numbers, both in gold and silver, saw sharp uptick. In fact, the volumes that got recorded on that particular day was something close to about 640 crore. And just to give you, put that number in perspective, the average trading volume for the whole of last year would have been somewhere close to about 220 odd crores, both gold and silver put together. Therefore, we are talking about almost 3 times kind of an uptick. And you're right, within that, almost 60% of those volumes came to the Nippon Gold and the silver ETFs combined. So that's the kind of numbers. These two schemes did more than 400 odd crores. Now, there are several reasons as to why investors are perhaps, I wouldn't like to use the word flocking, but there has been a substantial increase in investor interest. Primarily, as far as gold is concerned, gold generally is considered to be a safe haven asset. So whenever uncertainty rises, the investors tend to seek, investments into gold. And in the last few months and a good part of the last year, we had a lot of uncertainties in the form of geopolitical tensions across the world, and of late, policy-related, tariff-related uncertainties when it came to the recent development. So all of these things resulted in equity markets becoming very, very volatile, and therefore investors seeking a safer asylum in asset classes like gold. As far as silver is concerned, silver has slightly different dynamics. In fact, a good part of silver, unlike gold, is not really safe haven, but it's backed by industrial demand, and it generally has a positive correlation with economic outlook. But having said that, silver also has a negative correlation with asset classes like equity, which means that whenever equity is having those uncertainties, silver could also do well. So that could also attribute to why silver also has done very well.
Okay, point taken. Also help us understand, like you mentioned right now, due to certain reasons, there's a significant increase in ETF investor base. But other than the market volatility, what do you think are some factors that are driving more investors away from traditional metals on Akshaya Tritiya this year and towards ETFs? So what role do you think investor education has to play over here?
ETFs per se offer a very convenient way of investing into any particular asset class. It could be equity ETF. It could be, in our case, we are talking here about gold and silver ETF. So ETF offers a very, very convenient way to invest. You can invest through the day at any point in time during the trading day and at a relatively low cost. It offers tremendous liquidity. We are talking about volumes. So per day volume, something like, the normal days of late, we're getting something like 300, 350 crores of volume. And on special days like Akshaya Tritiya, this Akshaya Tritiya, it was close to about 640 crores. So that becomes a very convenient option for investors to invest through the ETF route. You need not worry about the purity of the metal. You need not worry about physically storing them, the cost involved, and other things. You simply make investments into those asset classes, in this case, gold, silver, and whenever you want to move out, you do that. So therefore, a lot of investors, not just in gold and silver, across the board, they are investing in ETFs. In fact, the number of folios, which is a proxy for the number of investors in ETF, is roughly about 2.7 crore. And within that, at Nippon, we command nearly 53% of the number of investor folios, which is to say that every second investor is actually an investor with Nippon ETF. And perhaps the reasons for that are multifold, particularly when it comes to Nippon ETFs. The volumes tend to be across the board very high. That higher liquidity directly has an implication on investor return by way of lower impact cost. And therefore, investors, when they need to look at ETFs, they primarily come to Nippon ETF schemes.
Okay, sounds good. And also help us understand the path ahead, because Nippon accounted for 63% of total gold and silver ETF volumes this time. How do you plan on sustaining this dominant market share that you have?
We hope we can sustain that. Obviously, unlike even normal mutual funds, when it comes to passives and ETFs, the winner kind of gets all, in the sense that generally when you think of investing in, let's say, a gold ETF or a silver ETF, you will generally go and pick up the best in terms of liquidity and therefore having lower cost. Therefore, you don't invest into 2, 3, 4 different ETFs just for the sake of diversification, because the underlying is the same, and what matters to you is the efficiency of how that ETF works. So we'll continue to kind of gain from that. From our end, we take up a lot of efforts in terms of reaching out to a whole lot of investors, different types of investors through various mediums, including above the line activities that we are currently doing in terms of putting out advertisements, in terms of letting investors know the various benefits through various mediums. We continue to do that. We continue to educate our investors and the larger stakeholders at large. So we hope that by doing that on a sustained basis, we can hopefully keep up this good performance and grow over a period of time.
Okay, and also lastly, now that you have such a broad investor base when it comes to ETF investors, how are you engaging this base beyond festive spikes like Akshaya Tritiya as well? How will you sustain this into other times of the year as well? Because we understand Dhanteras is also another fill-up occasion for you.
That's true. Dhanteras and Akshaya Tritiya, just 2 auspicious days, but even on an ongoing basis. And this is not just only for gold and silver ETFs. We have multiple other ETFs. In fact, we have 24 of them right now across different categories in equity, in fixed income, and within each of those asset classes, various subcategories. Like, for example, in equity, you have the likes of Nifty and Sensex. You also have the likes of different sectors, themes, and various differentiated and unique offerings as well. So our attempt has been to, on a continuous basis, to kind of reach out to our various stakeholders, to our own existing base, as well as to new investors, propagate the idea, the benefits of investing in ETF per se, and especially when it comes to our ETFs, what are the various benefits, etc. We can continue to do that through various mediums, one through broader advertisements, as well as through intense engagement through our teams on the ground. We reach out to various of these stakeholders to kind of keep this going on an ongoing basis.
Okay, sir, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today. On that note, we'll let you go. Well, clearly, ETFs are no longer just passive vehicles. They're becoming active choices for festive and long-term investing alike. Thank you, sir, for joining us today. And we'll be watching closely to see how this momentum plays out through the rest of the year as well. But on that note, we'll wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching.